Good morning. Today what I am showing you how to make is liquid soap. This is not a tutorial for buying some type of liquid soap concentrate and then diluting it. I am talking about making actual liquid soap from lye and oils. Just like how you can make cold processed bar soap, you can make liquid soap at home too. It is a little bit weird. If you're familiar with cold process, it will be weird to you. And if you're not familiar with cold process, it will be even weirder. So the basics of this is, just like any soap recipe, we have lye, which is a very caustic, dangerous chemical. And then we have any type of oil, usually something like coconut oil, palm oil, olive oil. These are all classic soap making oils. They combine and they form soap. The difference is here with liquid soap is we're using a different kind of lye. First of all, this is potassium hydroxide instead of sodium hydroxide. I don't know all the science behind it, but if you want liquid soap, you do need to make this. And then we are going to get really similar to cold process soap. We make a batter, but instead of just pouring it into a mold and letting it cure, it has to be cooked for a long time. And after you get that batter, what happens is it cooks down into this like gel-like soap paste. And then you take the soap paste, dilute it with about 50% water, and you have liquid soap. It sounds like a lot of steps, and you can make this super complicated, but I am going to simplify this quite a bit. I got a book on this, and I got really overwhelmed reading it, but I still tried everything. And then I found that a lot of the steps really were unnecessary if you're making soap for yourself at home. There was a lot of things like preservatives and testing and all this kind of thing that were sort of geared more towards commercial soap makers. If you just want to make a really nice, clear liquid soap for you and your family and a few people you want to give it to, this is the perfect method. So just like with any soap making, safety is important. You'll notice I don't use gloves. I don't recommend that. I believe you should use gloves. I don't. I find that they get in the way for me, and if I get soap on my hand, it stings, and I just wash it off. I am going to wear glasses. If you have safety glasses, that's best, but really these are just reading glasses and they do protect my eyes. So I'm going to get started now. First of all, what I'm making today is a liquid dish soap, because that is the one soap that I really prefer having as a liquid. I love bar soap for everything. I do make liquid dish soap, but when other people do the dishes, they complain about it and think it's weird. They want liquid. So I started making it, and I do also like it. Liquid soap is also great for guests. A lot of guests think bar soap is strange. They don't want to use an old bar. They want something fresh and wrapped up. So there are definitely uses where liquid soap makes sense. This is one of them. This is a dish soap, which means it's 0% super fat. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. All it means is there's no like extra oils in the soap for the purposes of moisturizing your skin or making it gentle. It's a really harsh stripping soap that you wouldn't take a shower with. You would do the dishes with. That's all it is. And we're doing one single oil, coconut oil, because that is the most cleansing oil. It gives you great bubbles. And that's what we care about when we're doing the dishes. We don't need it to nourish our skin. And the good news is that also keeps this really simple to make, because we just have one oil to worry about. The process at the beginning looks just the same as cold processed bar soap. We're gonna measure out our oil, our water, our lye, and then we'll get started. So this recipe is gonna make 1 gallon of gel paste. So this is a quart of gel. We're making 4 times this amount, which is going to end up giving us between 2 to 3 gallons of clear liquid dish soap, which is great. That should last us a super long time. Okay, so I'm gonna start by measuring out my lye. I'm gonna zero out my scale here. And remember, this is potassium hydroxide, totally different type of lye. And something you'll notice is when you pour the water into it, it makes this really loud crackling sound, and it also cools down a lot faster than regular sodium hydroxide. It's still just as caustic, it's still just as dangerous, you still have to be just as careful. Okay, so I'm gonna do 7 ounces, which means I'm just gonna switch this over to ounces. I'm pouring this in a dry cup. This is a plastic, I got coconut oil on myself, not lye, that's good. This is a plastic cup that's old and I use just for this one single purpose. So 7 ounces. Lye is like, it really has to be exact. I'm not that type of person. I like to just be like, oh, whatever, it's fine. But the lye really does have to be correct. So here's 7 ounces, and now I'm gonna measure the water. So I'm gonna zero this out. A lot of people will say you need distilled water. I don't know. If I was like making 3 gallons of dish soap that I was then gonna store in a warehouse and sell to a customer, sure, I would worry about that, but I'm not. And this is we're gonna add alcohol to this in a bit, so it's gonna look a little bit low on liquid. This is why. Water is much more flexible in soap. You can go up or down a couple ounces, won't matter. Okay, so now we're gonna combine the lye and the water. I'm actually gonna crack my window, it's really nice out. And that's gonna give me a good safe place to let this lye water cool. Because when you have this and the lye goes in, it looks like it's just like an innocent cup of water. And this is something that would be fatal if someone drank it. So it's really important that you put it somewhere where it's well ventilated, where it's in like a weird spot that people understand not to touch it or bump it or anything like that. My kids aren't home now, so this is a great time to be making soap. But if your kids are home, you have to let them know that it's dangerous. So we're gonna pour the lye into the water. This is another thing that makes people mad that I stirred this with a butter knife, but it works. Okay, so I'm gonna pour this into here. Always remember, when you're combining lye and water, the saying snow floats on the lake. That will help you remember that the lye goes on top of the water. You're not pouring the water into the lye. So you're gonna hear the crackling. I'm gonna put my glasses on so you don't yell at me. And then the idea is we wanna help this dissolve. It's gonna heat up on its own, and that's normal. So listen. You might be able to see the fumes. They are considerable. The cloudiness is normal. It will clear up as it cools. So right now, everything we're doing is just like cold process soap making. The only difference is the crackling sound. So I can feel now that there's no solid bits of lye. I'm done stirring. This also will ruin your countertops, so be careful. I'm gonna put this on my windowsill. I can see the fumes. So I want it to cool down fast, and I also want the fumes not with me breathing them in. Okay, great. My next step now is the oil. So I'm gonna measure out, like I said, we're doing just coconut oil, which makes this super simple. And I'm gonna melt it right in the slow cooker because I'm also gonna be cooking my soap paste in the slow cooker, and I'm all about the fewest amount of dishes as possible. So I'm gonna do 32 ounces of coconut oil, which is a lot. I just started warming this up, so it's a little bit hot. It should be okay. I'm gonna just weigh it right in here. I order a 5-gallon bucket of coconut oil, and I use that all throughout the year for all kinds of stuff. If you look for one that is not food grade, it is really affordable. Same with olive oil. If you're using like cooking olive oil to make soap, it ends up being really expensive and not worth it. But if you go to a soap making supplier like Bulk Apothecary or Nurture Soap, they have non-food grade oils, and it just makes it way more affordable. And coconut oil is one of those that you can always use, so that is why I got the 5-pound bucket. Okay, so this is 32 ounces. So this is just gonna go back into the slow cooker. I have it on, I'm gonna put it on high actually, so this will melt fast. And I'm gonna put the lid on. And while this is melting, the lye solution will be cooling, and that lye will cool down fast, and this will melt fast. And we'll be ready to combine everything in, I would say, 20 minutes or so, which is great. This actually moves much, much faster than cold process in terms of from when you pull out your ingredients to when you have that finished gel paste. It moves really quick. Okay, so the coconut oil here is almost melted. You can see it looks like shortening when you put it in. As it melts, it just looks like any old oil. And before we combine everything, I want to measure out the alcohol that's gonna go in this. So this is just 91% like rubbing alcohol. I will leave a link to the exact things that I used for this in the description if you just want to get exactly what I got. The purpose of this, it's not necessary, truly. You can just do water, lye, and oil, but this will give you a much clearer soap. So some of these will sometimes come out cloudy, but the alcohol is just a really simple addition that makes it cook faster, and it comes out clearer and brighter. So I find that it's worth the trouble, but if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. What you would need to do is put more water in. So I'm doing 5 ounces of alcohol. You'd need to add 5 more ounces of water. So I'm gonna weigh that out, and then we are going to start combining. Okay. The alcohol is also another reason that I always cook this in my slow cooker. The very first time that I did this, I put it in a pot on the stove, and I have a gas stove, and I was using this method where you make it's like a really thick shower cap for the pot to seal everything in, and it ended up overflowing, and so the liquid, which is made up of oil and alcohol, hit the flame of my gas stove and almost burned my house down. So if you don't have a slow cooker for this, you can do it in a huge pot, set on low if you have an electric stove. Don't do it on gas. It was really, 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 really dumb of me to do that. So please don't do that. Slow cooker is best. A lot of people will tell you you absolutely can never get a slow cooker that you cook with and make soap in it. I still cook in the slow cooker. I don't use fragrance in the soap that goes in this. I keep it fragrance free, and that's why I don't think I have a problem. But there's no raw finished lye in the end product. It's just soap. When you wash your slow cooker, it touches soap and then you rinse it and it's okay. Same idea. But I'm sure everybody will totally disagree with that. Now, as we are getting ready to get started, I'm just gonna have everything together. Typically when you're making soap, this is the point at which you would start adding fragrance and color. Don't do that with this. Just keep your base super simple, no fragrance, no color, then you'll add that as you dilute it. It doesn't store well. It can keep it from gelling up really well in here. It's just so much better if you keep this very, very plain, and then when you dilute it, you add those things in. So my lye water, you can see, has totally cleared up. This was only about 10 to 15 minutes. This is almost done. Stick blender, if you've made cold process soap, you know all about the stick blender. You really do need it to combine the lye water with these oils. Trace is a term that you might be familiar with in soap making. It just means, okay, so once this is totally melted, I'm gonna turn the heat off. We will turn it back on, but I don't want it running while I'm blending. Anyway, trace just means it's starting to thicken up, kind of like a light pudding, I guess I would describe it. But with liquid soap, it takes even longer. So trying to do this without a stick blender, with a whisk or something, would be just horrible. All right, so I've got my alcohol measured, my lye water measured. I'm gonna pour them both in here. I'm remembering that this is hot. This is gonna react and it's going to give off fumes. If it splashes, it's going to blind me. So I'm gonna put my glasses on and we will begin. That's the lye water. Here's the alcohol. So as of yet, nothing crazy is happening. The alcohol is gonna help speed up this trace process. Another reason that I like it. Okay, always wanna stand back when you first do this. This is normal, how we're getting this slushy consistency. Don't think you're done, you're not. And you can tell because we still have oil that isn't blended in. It's close. You can see how it's more homogeneous, I guess would be the word, where there's not two distinct textures, but I'm still seeing some oil. So I'm gonna kind of work around the edges there. I'm gonna get a spatula and then see if I can kind of mix this in, these outer edges here. And you don't wanna put this on your counters. It will ruin them. I'm gonna put that right there. And this is something I actually like about liquid soap, that you don't have to work so fast. I can stop and talk to you and not be afraid that this is gonna turn into a bar of soap. I feel like I could stop here. I'm just gonna mix everything in, make sure I don't see any oil. This looks good to me. And if you go back and think about what this looked like at first, when we got that slushy texture, you might, if you're used to cold process soap, anytime you see that, you're like, oh my gosh, it's over, I've gone too far. That's called ricing. But liquid soap is a little different. It just goes through that and then goes to this second stage. We have the alcohol in here, which I talked about before as being something that's gonna help the soap get really clear. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this back onto high, first of all. If we leave it just like this, a lot of times the alcohol will burn off and escape. What we want to do is keep it in here so that during the cooking process, when this is like really becoming a gel, we want the alcohol to stay in. So what I do is I get these bungee cords, and if you can find these little ones, this is better because you can adjust it to like the correct size. And I'm gonna do one here. Sometimes I do like 2 diagonal. You wanna make sure that the hook part isn't underneath. And I want this, so you want it tight. Whatever it takes for that. I'm gonna put that here. And so what you're looking for is that this is not budging. You could do another one, but I think this is okay. And always remembering that the alcohol is just optional, it's just for looks. And if a little bit escapes, it's not the end of the world, but we did go through the trouble of putting it in there. We do want the clear soap, so let's try to keep it in. I might end up doing another one here. I'm not sure, but at any rate, the idea is you don't want this to move at all. So now, this is on high. This is a really old crock pot. If you have a newer one, your high might be too high. It like this feels hot, but it's not, like it wouldn't be boiling a liquid. I wish I could give you something more precise, but high is probably good no matter what your crock pot is, unless it's really new and you can set it to like medium high. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this here for like 2 hours, which seems like a lot, but this paste has to become a solid, clear gel. When it's ready, you will know. It will be clear and it won't be gloppy really at all. It will be like it's harder than Play-Doh. It's like it's like a slightly melty plastic. I'll show you when it's done. But anyway, it does take a while. Look for that clarity. And the good thing about this is once it hits that point, it's ready. It's basically ready to use. So we'll come back in 2 hours and check on this and we'll go from there. It's been an hour now. I just wanted to show you a little bit what it looks like into the process. You can see that in the center here, actually you probably can't see, but in the center, oops, there's a little bit of that clear gelling going on. That is good, but we do want that to continue all the way through the pot. This is gonna take, I would say, probably 1.5 more hours. And then we are going to, again, what we're looking for is this type of consistency. So this is a gel paste I've made in the past. And it will look like this. It will be clear and moldable, but it will definitely be solid. It really is kind of like dough, but this is still very liquidy. It's not quite clear, so we're gonna keep on going. Okay, this has now been cooking for 2 hours. I just wanted to show you what it looks like after 2 hours, because I said, oh, in about 2 hours, it'll be ready, and it's not. But I can open it up and kind of give it a stir, and we can talk about how you can tell if yours is ready. So this is clear, it's bubbly, it's just not solid enough yet. Okay, so there's something that I always do to see if it's ready beyond just looking at it. Okay, so it's just not clear really, not yet. I would want it to be a lot clearer before I get it out of here. But there is the zap test, which a lot of people say it's dangerous and I'm not comfortable with it, but it's really, you just don't need to freak out about it. You get a little tiny bit, this is hot by the way, so let this cool for a second on your spoon or whatever you're using. You get a little bit of soap here, and then you touch it to your tongue, and if you feel this like jolt, that means the lye hasn't cooked out of it and it's not done. There are other ways to test this. It involves buying this weird chemical that you put drops in, and if it's too much of an operation. We want to keep this simple. So you got a little tiny bit of soap on your finger. Don't eat it, don't swallow it or lick it, just touch your tongue to it. And if you feel a zap, you'll know it. And then it just needs to keep cooking. So I almost truly ate that like stuck to my tongue. There is no zap. The lye is cooked out of this. I am going to take another look here. I want it to get just a little bit clearer, and that will continue to happen as it cooks. So I'm gonna leave this for I think 30 more minutes. but it's done. Ugh. I did like the worst testing of that ever, and I'm eating soap right now. This is done as far as like safety and turning into soap and making a usable dish soap. It's just not as clear as I want it. So I'm gonna put it back on, stretch this over. And I'll check in 30 minutes. Okay, so this is now ready. And we can tell based on how the color in here has changed, it's very clear and gel-like. It isn't super thick right now, but I am okay with that. We are just going to, yep. You could let this go a little bit longer, but it's okay as it is. All right, so what we're gonna do is let this cool down for just a bit, and then we're gonna scoop it into these containers. I think I said at the beginning that this would make about a gallon of paste, and that's definitely not right. It's more like a half gallon, and then we'll be able to do about a gallon of actual liquid dish soap, because we're gonna dilute this 50-50. You don't wanna put a lid on this until it cools, but when you put it in like this, you can save this as a paste that then you can dilute for just about anything. Remember that this one is that coconut oil soap with a really strong lye concentration because it is designed for dish soap. So you can't, I said anything, but really this one has way more specific uses. You can't dilute this and use it on your face or as a shampoo or anything like that. But it makes a great dish soap diluted at about 50% or even 33%. It might seem weird that we went through all this process to cook it down, and then our next step is to dilute it, but that is what we're going to do. So we turn this off. Some people keep this in the fridge. I just keep it at room temperature. Okay, our next step to turn this base into a usable liquid soap is to dilute this 50-50. So I do this always in mason jars just because you can always get a lid like this that works and it's very handy. And you don't have to really measure it. Eyeballing it is fine. So I'm just gonna go kind of like 2 cups. Some people prefer to cool this, then dilute it. I don't really mind. I should have put this just right in the mason jar. That would have made sense. And when you dilute this, you can, if you're in a hurry, what you can do, look what I've done, just made this, done this for absolutely no reason. I should just put it straight in here. Anyway, if you're in a hurry, you can use hot water and dilute this, or you could put it back in the crock pot with water, but I'm just gonna put cold water out of the tap and then let it sit overnight. And in the morning, it's gonna be a really pretty clear soap. And I get that this sounds really tedious, like you cook it down to a concentrate, then you go ahead and dilute it. It almost makes you think, why can't I just put a bar of soap in water and have liquid soap? But you can't, it doesn't work that way. If you wanted to do a fragrance or a color, you would do this after you dilute it, not in here. You wouldn't want to add it to the paste. So you can see like how bubbly it is already. And even though this isn't usable yet, I'm gonna put this on it just to cover it up. But this needs at least a day to sit and dilute. And then once it does that, I'll probably add a little bit of lemon extract or lemon essential oil actually, not extract. And then I'll have a really nice dish soap here. One thing to keep in mind, this is another annoying thing when in the process of making liquid soap that seems annoying, but it's actually not that big a deal. There's this thing called sequestering, which is after you make it and dilute it, it's supposed to sit for a week to get clearer. And this is a true thing. It will be cloudy at first, and after a week of just sitting in the jar undisturbed, it will become clear. I don't know why, that is just how it is, but the fancy name sequestering, don't let that trip you up. It just means if you want it to clear up, it will clear up on its own in about a week. So I'm gonna keep this, and I wanna label it so that I know that this is the dish soap base, because I have this one here that I can dilute for hand soap or body wash, and those are two totally separate things. If you're interested in making hand soap or body wash, it's the exact same process. The ingredients are different. We're gonna use different oils. We'll do like castor oil, olive oil, along with coconut oil. And we're also gonna do a different amount of lye because we don't want the 0% super fat, super harsh soap. We want something more like 3% in liquid soap. So I can do more videos on different liquid soaps, shampoos, bubble bath, things like that. But really the process here is basically the same. It's the potassium hydroxide mixed with the oils, then it gets cooked, then it becomes a paste, then you dilute it, and then you let it set. Sounds complicated, it's really not that big a deal. So anyway, I'm going to end this here, even though you won't be able to see the final product. Hopefully I'll just get a few shots of it and put them at the end. It's easy enough, just be careful. Don't let that lye bother you. And I'll leave the full recipe in the description box below this video. And then there's always a printable version of everything on my blog. You can just search for my blog name, which is Heart's Content Farmhouse, and liquid soap. Just put that into Google, and then the printable version should come right up. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have questions, and if you want to see more liquid soap videos, I can definitely do that too.